Let's talk more about the military forces on the border with the retired Marine Corps Intelligence Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Kempfer. He is also currently the president of the strategic management firm KIP. And we're also joined by a retired Naval Intelligence Officer, John Jordan, who serves on the board of overseers at Stanford University's Hoover Institution. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us. John, I'd like to start with you. The president deploying at least 1,500 troops to the border. That move has been approved by the Pentagon. What do you think of this use of the military?
Well, orders have been cut so far for a little over 7,000 troops, and it's important to look at these units, what these units are, versus what so many in the media are going to try to say that it's really troops on the border with machine guns and all that. Really, these are helicopter units to move Border Patrol personnel around, drone units, military police units to potentially guard people, engineer battalions to fortify and repair bits of the border and to build these tent cities. So these are really support units when you look at the units that have been cut these orders.
Hal, the president referencing those migrants who threw rocks at Mexican police this week, saying that should that happen at the U.S. border, that would be considered like a firearm. What do you make of that, and how would the military respond to this?
Well, Michelle, obviously U.S. forces have the right of self-defense. And if they were pelted by rocks, they could use appropriate force to respond. Generally speaking, it would have to be a fairly concerted use of force for them to use firearms in response to something like that. But with that said, as John mentioned, the forces that are going to be on the border, military forces on the border, are going to be under posse. They're going to be under a different set of orders. They're going to be providing support. They're going to be building things, logistics, maybe some intelligence. They're not going to be actually on the border doing enforcement or law enforcement. Legally, under U.S. law, they're constrained under a thing called posse comitatus, which actually restricts U.S. military forces, federal forces, from actually doing law enforcement. So in that regard, the scenario where they would be attacked is something that's very unlikely, although it is strong language that basically says, don't try to attack our forces.
John, many are questioning whether this is in fact the best use of the U.S. military. Where would these troops be stationed otherwise? Where are they being taken away from in order to be positioned at the border doing this?
Well, they're based at places like Fort Carson, Fort Bliss, Fort Knox, and Joint Base Charleston. Those are the units that are being dispatched right now. I disagree slightly with your other guest in the sense that I don't think posse comitatus would apply if there were troops on the border. If you're dealing with an enemy threat, foreign nationals coming over the border, posse comitatus deals with policing our own citizens. So I'm not sure that that would apply. But in any event, we're in agreement that these units, which would be basically home quartered in these U.S. bases in the lower 48, are support units that are going to augment and make more effective Border Patrol activities.
Defense Secretary Jim Mattis saying that this is not a political stunt, that the Pentagon does not do stunts. Do you think that he would have challenged the president had he objected to this, or would he not have risked a confrontation, in your opinion?
Well, Michelle, I worked for General Mattis, and I can tell you that whatever he would say to the president about this would be kept in very close confidence with the president. I'm sure there was a dynamic discussion on whether troops should be at the border, how many troops should be at the border, what types of troops should be at the border. And I don't believe that Jim Mattis would in any way couch his terms in regarding his assessment on that. But there's a difference between using the word stunt and making a statement. And we use military forces to make strategic statements all the time. And putting forces on the border is a very bold statement. We've done that in the past. I was there in the 90s when we did that several times. I worked with the command. I was actually in the command that was responsible for the border. And frankly, we've made statements before, although they have a mission, they have a purpose. But yeah, there's politics in play. We can't deny that.